Alright, so we're going to continue on with our tale of two focuses. To wrap up on the black focus, it needs an ignition switch, so I'm waiting on the customer to get back to me on that. So on the other focus, we've only got to do a couple things to it. We got to do a brake inspection because she's got a bit of a squeak in the brake somewhere. So I'm going to get you sat down here, and I'm going to grab our socket we need to get that wheel off, and I'm going to show you this tool I use for checking brakes. I'm going to show you how to get the back drums off in case that confuses you, and trust me, it confused me too. It took me a while to figure it out. Show you how to check your back brakes and get this one wrapped up, so I'll be right back. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and check the rotor, the pad thickness. This is called a depth gauge. Green means it's good, yellow is caution, and red is replace. Minimum thickness is 2 mil. So you can check it two ways. You can either check it through the slot right here in the caliper, or you can check it on the back of the caliper if you've got access to the pad back there, or from the front of the caliper if you've got access to the front, because some of these are enclosed. So what you do is you pick one. If the car's been driven a little while, you're going to start in the yellow range, and I'll show you what that looks like. So what you're going to do is you're going to find your pad in here, and this goes between the back of the pad and the rotor. So 6 mil fits it in there, and it's loose. Okay, so we have it loose at 6 millimeter. So then we're going to go up. The next size I have on here is 8 millimeter. So anytime that you have an in-between, I'll show you how you handle that. So you take your 8 millimeter and you put it in here. It's supposed to sit snug between the rotor and the backing pad, and it kind of fits okay. There's a little bit of wobble there, so I'm going to call that, well, we're going to call it 8 mil. So then you're going to come around to the front. Since this is a non-centering rotor, or non-centering caliper, a centering caliper is one that you can look through the hole back here and see the front and back of the caliper. General Motors usually uses those. Ford, they use them on their trucks, but not a whole lot on the cars. So then you're going to take your flat edge right here, you're going to put it up against the pad. It don't fit. Make sure this is sitting flat against the rotor. It don't fit. This is 8 mil. So we're going to switch to 6 mil, which is the first in our yellow range. And we're going to put it down in there, and it fits. So we got 6 mil on the front, 8 mil on the back. So we're going to split the difference and call it 7 mil on this wheel. 7 mil is acceptable. Now, I usually pull the car off the road if it gets down near 3 mil, which is this little space right here. That's usually when I pull the car off the road. So the front brakes are fine. Her squeak is not coming from the front. The front pads have an anti-squeak on, or a squeaker on it. At least I think it does. So we're done on the front. Now we're going to move to the back, and then we'll put our tires on, and then we'll do the other side. So the back, you can use this for back as well. Now, I'm going to give you a minute to examine this while I go get the appropriate tools needed to get this apart. Alright, so, have you figured it out yet? Alright, well, if you have a Kia Rio, you might know how this comes apart, because it's the same way that you get it apart on a Kia Rio. So what you're going to do, oh, we're going to need a muffler soon from the looks of it. Looks like our muffler's cooked. Alright, well that's a whole other story. You got a notch down in here, okay? You're going to take your flat screwdriver and you're going to get in there and you're going to pry this cap back like that. Okay? Set your cap off to the side. Now you're going to see, I'm going to show you, got that retaining nut in there. Okay? Now you need to read service information, because on some of these vehicles that nut is non-reusable. You have to change it out. If I remember right, and I don't, Let me see what size that is real quick. I think it's a 24 millimeter. So let me go grab my 24 millimeter and I'll be right back. Alright, so I also got the reinforcement kit just in case I was wrong on my socket size. So we got a 27, a 24, and then I got my axle nut kit. So let's try the 27. Nope, it's not a 27, so it's probably a 30 or a 29 millimeter. We're going to tell you in just a second. Got my 29 mil right here, and it fits. So this is how you take that nut off. Pull that nut off. Get it stuck inside your socket. This is what it looks like. Okay? So the way this goes on is that part goes forward, and you gotta grab your pick, pull your, kind of like a wheel bearing. You got the spacer right here. Set that in your cap, and then you should be able to pop that off of there. That wants to act like stupid, so I'm gonna have to go get my 2-jaw puller. Give me just a second. Alright, so you need this hub puller. You may have seen it in a previous video because we used it on our Pontiac to pull the hub bearings out of it. So you set this like this. Get your lug nut started. Make sure you tighten up your lug nuts nice and tight when you do this so that it doesn't move on you. What you're going to do is you're going to get the jack screw in place and you're going to put it right in the center of that cone right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my gun. We're going to zip up that. We're going to get our jack screw installed first. Set our tool up. This is why it costs you so much to get your back brakes done at your local shop, because they have to bust out the special tools in order to do it. So you're going to spin this down in there like this. This is what you got to do before you tighten those nuts up, because you need to center it right in the middle of that cone. And then as soon as you get it centered in the middle of that cone, then you can go ahead and tighten your lug nuts up. See, I got it centered just perfectly in the middle of that cone. So now we'll take our socket and we're not torquing them down, we're just going to zip them down to hold the tool on. See, we're just going to tighten the tool up. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead on this part here and we're just going to pull it off. And that's how you get that off. And you loosen the tool back up. And you take the tool off. Piece of cake. You want to go nice and slow and careful with it. I'll show you what the inside of the drum looks like too. That's how you get your drum off. Pull this out like this. You're going to get it hung up on the shoes. And you got your inner bearing in there. There's a clip. There's a snap ring in there that you have to take out to get the bearings out. And that's how you change the bearing too. So I'm going to put some brake clean in here. And it looks like our bearing might be bad. Yeah, we got a bad bearing in here. You can tell a little bit because of the galling on the inside on that piece right there. And it looks like we might need some shoes too. Now, on this, we're going to clean the brake dust off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up the cost for some bearings and clean off our spindle here. Yeah. Yeah. This bearing's got some play in it, so we're going to have to get some new bearings. So we may end up having to get snap ring pliers out and pull these bearings out and replace them. That might be her squeak. I'm going to get some brake clean this up, and I'll be right back. Alright, let's get some cleanup done on this wheel. I'm going to clean off the spindle with some brake clean all that up. We're going to clean the inside of the drum. You also want to run your finger across the inside of the drum. You're checking for any signs of catching or grabbing or anything like that that's out of the norm. So it's a good idea to check your back brakes every like 20,000 miles or on some sort of a schedule, because your back brakes could be done and you'd never know it until you go to set your parking brake, and then your parking brake doesn't release because it's stuck to the inside of the drum. You also want to check this right here. It should be shiny. If it's got a little bit of material on it, that's wear. That's from the bearing. These shoes are bonded, so they do not have asbestos in them. However, if they are original pads, depending on the year of your car, you could still have asbestos in your pads. And because these are wheel bearings, I'm going to have to consult the service information to see if we have to grease them, or if they are like the hub bearings where they're self-contained and don't require greasing. So, depending on which way that goes. Oh, you also have a lip right here. Let me show you on this drum. You have a lip right here. You got to make sure that that's not damaged, because that lip goes on a rubber piece on the spindle, and you want to make sure that this doesn't get damaged. So if you have to rebuild this drum, do it carefully. So I'm going to go do some information searching, see what I can find out about this, and we'll be back in a little bit. Here's our specs. Shoe width is 1.42 inches. That's the thickness of the shoe at minimum. If it's less than that, we have to discard. Drum diameter maximum 8 inches. New is 7.99. If it's more than 8 inches, we have to discard. I cannot measure that because I don't have a measuring device big enough to measure the drum. So we're going to have to do without that one. So let me get you in the pod here. We'll go ahead and we'll get some measurements on these shoes. You want to measure these in 2 spots, top and bottom, because of the thickness variance between the upper and lower part of the shoe. So we're going to turn our caliper on. We're going to zero our caliper out on the inches side. So we're going to take our caliper this way. We're going to start down here on the bottom. We're going to push it down like that. We're going to pull a reading. 0.297. Okay, so already we're below spec. We'll do it up here. 0.239. Alright, we're going to check the back. 0.239. 0.196 inches. So I will get the bearing up on the table and we will start tearing it apart. Okay, so this is the style of drum that has the bearings inside it. You can't replace them. The reason is because you got this dust slinger right here, this cap right here that you would have to take off in order to get to the snap ring. So, oh, we got some weeping. We got some weeping. Oh, yep, okay. So at the very least, we're going to need a wheel cylinder. At the very least, we're going to need to change the wheel cylinder on this wheel. Yeah, because what we got here is we got our adjuster here that doesn't want to release to where we can push our shoes in. There we go. Just gotta take the screwdriver and just gonna rock it back and forth in here, and we'll get that down there. And then we center it. Our wheel cylinder is basically as you see here. The only thing I think I might need to do is maybe take that spring loose, but we'll see what happens. Shoes are in good shape. We just got a bit of a leak because we peeled this back yesterday and had brake fluid down here. So, all right. So I'll show you what the back looks like. That is the back of your wheel cylinder. So you got two ports on the back. This port here is for your line, and this is your bleeder valve. So we'll take our rubber cap off of here and replace it on the new one. So this is where we got to get loose right here. I can set you right there. You can kind of see what we're going to do here. It's usually a good idea to spray that down, but I didn't bring any of my spray with me, so we're going to see if we can get lucky today. It's a 10 millimeter from the sound of it. Always use a flare end wrench. Nope, it is not a 10 mil. It's not a 12 mil, it must be an 11 mil. Let me go grab my other wrenches, I'll be right back. Alright, so I went and got my other wrenches. This one's a 9/11, so see if the 11 fits it, because it's got to fit nice and snug on here. It's not going to work. Oh wow, look at that. Look at that. We got lucky today, folks. I'll rock it back and forth a little bit, make sure all the threads are good. Now after you get it loose with the flare end wrench, you can use a regular wrench. Take it off. I, however, don't believe I own an 11 millimeter wrench. I should have, but I don't. I don't think I do. You're going to lose a little bit of fluid when you do this, so just be aware of that. As long as nobody touches the brake pedal, bleeding this should be pretty simple. You're going to have the tires off to bleed this car because you won't have any room otherwise. Some of these cars you can bleed with the wheel on. This one is one of those you have to have tire off. So before we do the rotation on the front tire on the other side, we're going to have to do the brake. Brake bleeding. Come on. So it's just time for this car to get some new brakes on it anyway, because it's got 155,000 on it. And yeah. There's our line. We gotta figure out what size our bolts are. I feel like they might be 10. Find out in a minute. This is my 10 mil socket. Let's see if it fits. It's too big. Alright, so I gotta find my 8 mil socket. Wish I knew where my 8 shallow went. Now, anyway. Get back in here. Yeah, those are 8 millimeter. So we'll get our busted socket here. We'll get this. There's 2 bolts hold this on. As long as you don't get any brake fluid on your surfaces. such as your in here, like I just did, you'll be fine. We're going to brake clean all this when we're done. Let's get a short extension on here so I got something to turn. Take my glove off so I can operate this. I just don't like getting brake fluid on my hands like I just did. Brake fluid sucks. Anyway. There's our bolt, one of them. I'll set him over here on the dead drum. And now we got to get the other bolt out, and then we can push our wheel cylinder forward. So our other bolt sits over here on the other side. I might have to go get a wrench for this one. I don't think my shallow socket's going to fit. Nope. Wish I knew where my short was. Because you got to take the bleeder screw out to get to the others. Alright, well, let's do that then. Set our cap over there. Yeah, I believe that's how you do it. You gotta get the bleeder screw out. Alright, well, let's get the bleeder screw out then. Those are usually 10 millimeter. If I get in there. See if I can get in there with my... Nope, we're going to have to use a wrench on that too. Well, convenient enough for me, I should have a 10 mil wrench already out here because I had a... It's not a 10. Is it a 12? Nope, it's an 11. So they made it the same size as the line. That's neat. And they made it really loose too. Get this bleeder screw out of here. So far we've only needed an 11 millimeter wrench and an 8 millimeter wrench to do this job. Aside from what you need to get the drum off. See, it works much better if you have the regular wrench. After you get the end broke loose, it's usually pretty simple. Alright, then we'll grab our bleeder and we'll set that over here. Now I think we can get in there with our 8 wrench and get that other nut loose. If you have a shallow socket, you can do it too, but apparently my shallow sockets come up missing. Alright. Let me see if I can find me a shallow socket, because this one's going to be a bit of a pain in the butt. Give me just a second, guys. I'll be right back. Alright, I went and got my ratchet wrench. Broke it loose with the open end. I'm using the ratcheting end to get the bolt out now. It almost wanted to fight me, but I did my best to prevent that from happening. And here's your bolt right here. So, kind of rounded it off a little bit, so what we'll do is we'll put this one on the outside. That way it'll be easier to get off next time. Now we're getting ready to pop this wheel cylinder out. So this is how you pop your wheel cylinder out without taking your whole drum apart. My favorite part of the show right here. Up here is a screwdriver, and you just pry back on each side. That releases it from the wheel, and there's your wheel cylinder. So we'll set that down in the bucket. Wipe off our piece here. And you never have to take that apart. So let me get our other wheel cylinder out of the car, and I'll be right back. Here's your part number for your new wheel cylinder for your Ford Focus. This is non-ABS car, because it will ask you. So let me show you what comes in this kit. You have a new dust cover. You have a new bleeder screw. You have an O-ring seal that goes around, I'm assuming it goes around here. But the other one, the old one didn't have one, so we're going to disregard that. I guess there's some of them they require you to have that on there, but this one does not. This one also has new stops, which we have to press in, pop our caps out. Keep these caps because you're going to need these for other things. That's what I usually do. I usually keep those. And we'll put our thumb over this one here, and they don't want to pop out. Oh well. We'll pop that one out. So, disregard that. Alright, so since the other bolt was a pain in the butt to get out, we'll put that one in last. So let's see, let's look at our bolts here. Normally I will go down to the hardware store if these are really bad and take the better of the two, so I've got my angle for my pitch and my size and the length, and I'll get two new ones. But these are in pretty good shape, so we're gonna run with these. That's the one we took out of the back, so we're gonna put that one in the front. And this is the one we took out of the front, so we're gonna put that one in the back. You want to just reach down in here. You want to get your wheel cylinder up in the bore, or up in the hole here. Down in this back corner, underneath where this control arm attaches, is the hole for this thing to fit in. And if you want to, you can let this hang out a little bit outside the backing plate while you get the screw started. That way you can make sure the screw starts okay. Like this. You can get, if you can see it, over in the corner, then you can get it started. Alright, and then once you get it started, push it back in so you can tighten it down. Because these little screws, they can be a pain in the butt. Alright, and that one's done. We'll snug that one up with our wrench using the open end. And you don't have to torque these down, they just have to be tight, just so it doesn't fall out of the car. Alright, that one's nice and tight. It's a feel thing, in case you're wondering how I determine how it's tight or not. You have to listen to the bolt. You have to feel it. Because if you've done this enough, it's not particular to brakes, but if you've done any kind of repair work long enough, then you'll know how much it takes to break different size bolts. So this one wants to go cross-threaded. I can feel it. Sometimes you gotta do the two finger. There we go. I think I got it that time. Nope, I didn't. You gotta just let the threads find themselves. Sometimes you gotta use a wrench to do it. So this is how I do it with a wrench. I'll get my wrench on the screw or the bolt. Get get it on the bolt. That way I got something to control the bolt with. And I'll just use the wrench to kind of work the bolt. The bolt will eventually find its thread and start threading in. Or you'll pull it out like that. Yeah, it wants to be stupid, so. I'm gonna have to stick my head back in there, and I know you don't want to see that, so let me get this bolt started and then we'll continue on. Alright, so I'm gonna repeat something that I've said many times on this channel. Never tighten up your bolts till they're all in place. I had to loosen up the back screw in order to get the front screw in, because in true Ford fashion, especially in the aftermarket world, your screws don't always line up. So as a result of that, I had this screw here too far down to where it was trying to cross thread, and then when it finally did go in, it was feeling rough, so naturally I loosened up the back screw and tightened up and got the front screw in. Now we're going to take our wrench, open end, try not to slide it off the end there, and tighten it down. We got our 8mm long drive right here we're going to use on that outer screw on our screwed up ratchet. If I can get my tool on here. I'm going to just tell you guys that when you do this job, just do it with wrenches. It seems to be the way this wants to go. This job's telling me it's a wrench job, so we're going to just forego the sockets and whatnot, because unless you have the particular socket that you need to do this job, in which case, by all means, have at it. And of course, you're going to want open-ended on this thing, because that's the other thing it's indicating, is it wants to be open-ended. Normally doesn't take this long to do. Wheel cylinders on the car, but alright, we're solid on that end. Now you can go in here and you can put your line on. Center the line. Pull the line back so you got tension on the line. And then carefully thread your brake line in so you don't have to redo it, because this is a double bubble. So tighten it down as far as you can by hand, and then use your wrench to tighten it up. Now if you want to, you can bleed these as you're doing it. Definitely nothing wrong with that. That's how I usually do it. I'll bleed them out, and then I'll put the wheel back together and send it. Oh, since you have the new hardware, you need to make sure that you have the right size for that, because they do occasionally change. They kept this one the same, so that's a good thing. But in the past, I've had issues with bleeder screws being different sizes from what the OE had. And you put your bleeder screw in. Before you do this, we got to put our hub back on, so let me get this all cleaned up with my brake fluid on my hands here, get all this rust off of here. These are non-greased, by the way. You don't grease these, because it's pressed on. All the movement's going to be from the bearings, so there's no need to grease them. I don't even think it helps to grease it in order to get the drum back on, because the drum is just a drum, so it doesn't really do much. Alright, so let me go get our hub. We'll get that put on here, get it cleaned up, and get it put back on, and then put the wheel back on this side, and this side will be done. We've got our brake clean here. Sorry I don't have a sound for you, but we'll get one. Let me go get that drum. I'll be right back. Alright, so here's your new drum. Service information says that you need to mark somewhere on the nut how many times you've removed it, because and by remove it I mean take it off to do brakes and then put it back on, torque it back down, because apparently it's a special laminated nut and you're allowed 4 attempts with it. Ooh, this one's got some balsa wood in it. We can make us a sign with that. That's pretty good stuff. Alright, we get wood in our packaging now. That's beautiful. I like that. I'll have to bear that in mind next time I get something. Alright, so here's our drum. So there might be somebody in the comments asking why we can't change the bearings out. Oh, those are nice and tight. Those won't even move. Check this out, guys. I'm going to get you over here so you can see. These don't move. These don't move. That's what you want. So why can't we change these bearings out? Alright, that's a great question. Let me explain. Alright, so this has this metal ring right here. This is a dust cover. Goes on this rubber seal in here. Holds this whole thing together. Behind that would be the snap ring that we have to use to take that out. Here's the reason why we can't change these out. Because this gets damaged when you pull it out. If this doesn't go back in the way it came out, it's going to be noisy. You're going to get dirt and debris up in here and your brake will fail. So to prevent that from happening, they make this to where you have to buy it with the bearings intact. Now there are some vehicles or some model years where this does not have the dust cover. On those, you can go ahead and change them. I'm going to set it up like this for just, well, actually, let's just sit it on like this real quick. I'm trying to get it to sit up here on the hub so I can spray it out real quick. That's why we can't change the bearings. The bearings can be changed because we do have a snap ring, but we can't change them because of that dust shield. And they don't reproduce those dust shields. So once that shield's done, it's done. There's nothing you can do about it. So, my poor rag here. And again, when you go to put these on, do not grease the spindle. Don't grease that. Highly unnecessary. This should slide on real easy. If it don't, you need to readjust your brakes. There it is. Brand new rotor. Sorry, brand new hub. Alright, so our nut is still in our gun, so I gotta pull the nut out of the gun here. So this nut goes in like this. These little grabbers right here line up. So what you gotta do is you gotta have your flat washer. Technically it goes like this. Your flat washer and then your nut. So that's how you're going to put this together. Because them prongs have to go inside that flat washer, and that's how this works. Alright, once that's pressed, we're going to do a gentle run with this. Right here, go gentle. Once that's pressed in, make sure that your flat washers properly sit. Run it till it stops. Put your finger in there and make sure that your nut is flat against your washer. That means them little prongs have engaged. You need engagement there. Once that's done, torque on this is 173 foot-pounds. Or pound-feet, depending on which keyboard warrior you are this week. I know there's some guy out there, he's correcting everybody that says it wrong. Well, you know what? Come do my job, and then you tell me which way is best. That's my answer to that. Douche that down real quick. So, on quick style, do your smallest measurement first. So we're going to do 73. Then we're going to ramp it up to 100. There's your 173 foot-pounds. So We'll get this at 73, which is right, let me see, on this. If you didn't look at my torque wrench class, I'll teach you one more time. On this style torque wrench, let me see if you can see real quick. The bottom line should be on 0 for that number right there, okay? So after that, you just count over 3, which is right there. It's that notch between the 4 and the 2. And then we tighten it up. Then we can get on here like this, and we can pull it till it clicks. That'll be our 73. And then we'll pull it again. We'll have our 100. So there's our 73. Do not use extensions on this. Very important. Alright, let's see here. There's our 100. We'll torque our 100 down, and then that'll do it for this. There it is. Okay, so the next step we need to do here after we've got the nut torqued down, we need to spin our drum, make sure everything's right. It feels okay. We'll go backwards with it. It's going to turn a little rough because it's new. And then we'll take our cap with our little damaged dent in it. We'll take it here and we'll just push it back on with our fingers. Snap that back in. Now, I'm going to go get the world's greatest assistant. I'm going to have them come out and help me bleed this. So, this part's done. So, that's how you change your wheel cylinder and your drum on your Focus. So the rest of the inspection that I was doing, I'm going to go ahead and just do that off camera because the daughter's getting impatient. So thanks for watching.